Tonight, back into the breach.
This is not an evacuation.
The U.S. sends thousands of troops into Kabul as more Afghan cities fall to the Taliban.
This as COVID chaos continues across the country.
And Uyghurs rally.
Act immediately to address this humanitarian refugee crisis.
The work to expand asylum protections for refugees fleeing genocide in China.
Plus 9 long years.
The last time I hugged him, he was 30.
The hope for abducted journalist Austin Tice on his 40th birthday.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Afghanistan under siege as the U.S. moves out and the Taliban accelerates its advance towards the capital city of Kabul. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
And thank you for joining us. I'm John Jessup. 3,000 American troops are on their way to Afghanistan, rushing in to help evacuate U.S. Embassy personnel and others in Kabul as the situation there unravels.
The Taliban has already taken over most of the country, including a dozen key cities in just the last week. The CBN News senior Washington correspondent Tara Merchner is here with the latest. Tara?
Well, John and Jenna, this is not where the Biden administration wanted things to be. Forced to heighten U.S. military presence in the midst of a plan to withdraw all U.S. troops in less than 3 weeks.
As the Taliban's grip quickly grows tighter, Afghanistan is deteriorating. Up to 3,500 U.S. troops now standing by, ready to remove staff from the U.S. Embassy in Kabul.
Our job here now, with this additional plus-up, is to help facilitate the safe movement of civilian personnel out of Afghanistan.
As Afghan forces surrender, the Taliban is seizing one regional capital after another, sharing videos along the way.
This is one of those few cases when I think the reality is probably worse than what it looks like.
Overnight, violent clashes in Kandahar with Taliban forces, now taking over Afghanistan's second largest city. The Taliban now just 80 miles away from the country's capital. Paul Miller, an Afghan war veteran and former White House aide, says the worst is yet to come.
And they may indeed take over the whole country here in a matter of days or weeks.
Those who stand to lose the most, the women of Afghanistan, a generation of girls who grew up with more access to education rights, are now fearful the Taliban will once again take all of that away.
They know that everything that they know and they have gained is at the verge of shattering should the Taliban come back to power.
Here at home, experts say there will also be more danger on American soil.
It's bad for the United States and our allies and partners as well, because as the Taliban takes over the country, Al-Qaeda and its copycats will be able to regain safe haven there. And I don't need to tell you how bad that can be.
Still, earlier this week, President Biden said he does not regret the decision to quickly withdraw American troops from Afghanistan by the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks.
They've got to fight for themselves.
Which is the reason the U.S. entered the country in the first place.
Who would have possibly thought that 20 years on, this is where we would be ending up?
And while the Biden administration is still not calling U.S. troop deployment a combat mission or an evacuation, pundits say the emergency evacuation of Americans will be seen by many as an admission of failure by the president. In Washington, I'm Tara Merchner, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Tara. Well, to COVID-19 and the surging Delta variant, churches across the country have their hands full dealing with not only the pandemic, but growing concerns of homelessness and hunger as well.
CBN's Brady Carter introduces us to one pastor who's not letting the fear of COVID get in the way of helping others while pleading for more help to step up, pleading for people to step up and help.
Well, COVID can cancel sporting events, flights to Paris, even weddings and funerals. But one thing it can't stop is the love one woman has for her community and a love for Jesus.
If COVID doesn't kill them, hunger will kill them.
Not even the resurgence of a global pandemic can stop Pastor Shitigo Nakpodia at Redeemer's Praise Church in San Antonio. She and her team serve 300 meals every Saturday, and not one of them has caught COVID.
The Lord laid on my heart to just keep going every day. to just go and feed.
Serving the homeless from inside the dilapidated walls of this 1869 historical church, which has a history deeper than the smoke you can still smell trapped in the wood from 2 separate fires. But now it's setting hearts on fire for Jesus Christ in the heart of Texas.
So every morning, go love on the people. Go to work. Take care of your family. Don't quit trusting and believing God. Together, starting in faith, we will overcome.
The pastor now raising money to build a community center where the homeless can wash their clothes, get their GED, and also grab a hot meal. This as COVID chaos continues across the country. With mandatory masks and vaccines heating up, the Delta virus is not slowing down, with a daily caseload tenfold since late June. This week's top COVID headlines: hospitals in Oklahoma and Mississippi running out of space. The FDA authorized booster shots for the at-risk population. Vaccines are now deemed safe for pregnant women. And Virginia, the latest state to issue a mask mandate for all K-12 students. Despite all of this, a word of encouragement.
Don't quit. Stay in the word, stay in faith, stay in prayer. And let's just keep going every day, trusting God to take care of us.
Pastor Nick Podia is still raising money for Redeemer's Praise Church and Community Center, thanking anyone who feels conviction to help her end hunger in San Antonio. This as the fight against COVID-19 continues. Brody Carter, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Brody. And here now to discuss, Clarence Page, syndicated columnist and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist with the Chicago Tribune. Clarence, great to see you this Friday. Thank you so much for coming on. So high-risk Americans, they can now get a booster shot. And at the same time, we still have about 50% of Americans who are not vaccinated. Clarence, what do you make of this discrepancy?
Well, it's a combination of things. So some people just don't want to get a shot for reasons of their own. Some people haven't had access. And also there's quite a bit of confusion around still because the various standards have changed. I'm still wondering, should I get a booster or not? But at my age, I better get everything I can get.
Clarence, to Afghanistan, how surprising did you find the speed at which the Taliban has made its advance?
I was surprised and disappointed because I expected it to be a fast advance. I was quite amazed. I haven't seen an advance like this, I guess you can call it a rout, since the fall of Saigon. And we watched that largely on television, too. You young folks probably got some old pictures around or whatever, but that was a similar kind of situation after we'd been there for so long, had some 58,000 American lives, not to mention all Vietnamese lives, and all that commitment. We just had to hightail it out of there, and that's kind of what we're doing in Afghanistan now. But there's no other way that I can see. We've been through, 20 years and several presidential administrations. Nobody's found the answer over there, and it's just a shame it had to happen like this.
You were talking about Saigon, and the New York Post today had the headline called Biden's Saigon. The article essentially blames Biden for the way this is all unfolding. Do you think that's a fair claim to make?
I expect that claim from the New York Post. That's their job, to constantly criticize Democratic presidents. No, if they got a better plan, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure Biden would love to hear it. The fact is, you saw President Trump was devoted to getting out of Afghanistan, and got us partly out, not all the way. President Obama, President Bush, they've all had challenges with that, and for a lot of different reasons, very difficult. I just hope they can have as peaceful or bloodless of a transition as possible. That's what's inevitable over there.
Clarence, no doubt it's been a tough week for the administration. There's also the southern border and that leaked audio of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas calling the situation unsustainable, adding also that we're going to lose. Clarence, do the secretary's comments reveal a more serious situation than the administration has let on?
I don't know if it's more serious than they've let on. Every administration now tries to play down the seriousness there. But it's still a dilemma for this country, how to handle the border and try to do it as humanely as possible. And I think that if it really is unsustainable. Congress will send more money. The way Washington is right now, President Biden has got a Democratic Congress to help him out if they need more funding, and we need more border security. But frankly, I don't know where the end is going to be, because we don't have a neat solution for that dilemma either.
Well, speaking of Congress, on infrastructure, 9 more moderate Democrats are threatening to withhold their votes from the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. Clarence, do you think Speaker Nancy Pelosi will cave on this, or how do you see this playing out?
I suspect that they'll come to a deal in order to get as much of that human infrastructure bill passed as possible. The Republicans aren't big on that, but they prefer traditional infrastructure like bridges, roads, highways. This larger package is almost a Biden New Deal, it seems to me, with some very humane issues there, funding child care and for climate change, a variety of issues to be funded in that bill. And it's all poll tested and popular with the public. It's just a question of getting it over the hump of politics on Capitol Hill.
All right, columnist with the Chicago Tribune, Clarence Page, we always appreciate you being with us.
Great to see you.
And coming up, protests against the ongoing persecution of the Uyghur people in China. How a bipartisan bill could help thousands of refugees.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Well, tonight, hundreds of Uyghur Muslims and fellow protesters rallied near Washington, D.C., calling on the United States government to expedite asylum cases and grant refuge to Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and others facing persecution.
To act immediately to address this humanitarian refugee crisis that is being overlooked. We ask them to help uplift the Uyghur and other Turkic peoples that have fled genocide.
Uyghurs and people in East Turkestan, which China calls Xinjiang, have sought independence from Beijing for years, yet the Chinese state has steadily persecuted the Uyghur people, sending millions to concentration camps that China calls re-education camps.
Here with us now is Salih Hudayar, Prime Minister of the East Turkestan government. Salih, it's great to have you with us this evening. Thank you so much. So this spring, Republican Senator Marco Rubio and Democratic Senator Chris Coons joined together on a bipartisan bill to allow Uyghurs and the people of East Turkestan eligibility for priority refugee status in the United States. How important is this issue?
This is very important given the situation of the ongoing genocide. Many countries in the Middle East, including Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, other countries in Central Asia, like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, and even South Asian countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Cambodia, have been deporting Uyghurs at the request of the Chinese government. And these Uyghurs are being sent into, the concentration camps and prisons.
Hudayar, can you describe the dire situation Uyghurs and the people of East Turkestan face today under control of the Chinese government?
Yes. At the moment, according to the U.S. Department of Defense, there's at least 3 million Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and other Turkic peoples in concentration camps. You have millions more in prisons. Outside of the camps, people are being subject to forced labor in the hundreds of thousands. You have over 850,000 children who have been forcibly separated from their families and sent to state-run boarding schools to be educated as loyal Chinese citizens. You have systematic rape of Uyghur and other Turkic women, forced marriages, and you have, the mass organ harvesting of Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples as a result of the mass DNA, biometric, and other collection by the Chinese government.
Uyghur people fleeing China have sought refuge in other countries we know outside of the U.S., and there's growing evidence that shows China pushing those host countries to round up and deport Uyghur people back to China. Can this be stopped?
There is going to be a lot of pressure. There needs to be a lot of pressure by, the United States and other democratic nations in the international community to stop this. However, because of the economic and political ties of these certain countries, we don't think that we can necessarily stop this. And that is why we're calling on the United States and other governments in the free world to grant refuge, priority refugee status to Uyghurs, and to expedite the asylum applications of those that are already here in the United States and other countries.
In addition to asylum, Salih, what role does the International Criminal Court play, even though China has refused to join the ICC?
Well, the International Court, Criminal Court, given the precedents with the Rohingya and Myanmar issue, they can establish jurisdiction to investigate Chinese officials for genocide and other crimes against humanity, because the fact that part of the crime is happening in other countries that are member states of the ICC, like Tajikistan, which has deported over some 3,000 Uyghurs in recent years.
All right, Salih Hudayar, Prime Minister of the East Turkestan government in exile, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
9 years in captivity. Why supporters aren't giving up hope for captive journalist Austin Tice. More on the Marine Corps veteran situation when Faith Nation returns.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary to life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back. This weekend marks 9 years since American journalist and Marine veteran Austin Tice was kidnapped in Damascus, Syria. Tice, whose reporting helped McClatchy win the George Polk Award for war reporting on the Syrian civil war, turns 40 this week. The Georgetown law student's parents, Mark and Deborah Tice, continue to plead for his release.
We are really measuring more by action, which is what we don't see. And the only thing, Lester, that we have asked since 2012, 9 years, 3 administrations, is direct diplomatic engagement with the Syrian government.
Tice has not been seen or heard from since a proof of life video released in 2012. But his parents, they have not given up hope. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in a statement that it's within Bashar al-Assad's power to free Austin.
Wow, I can't imagine how harrowing. Well, joining us now is Lisa Matthews. She is an Associated Press journalist and the 114th president of the National Press Club. Lisa, welcome to Faith Nation. You know, as someone who's been following Austin's case closely for years now, can you help us read into Secretary Blinken's statement? What was he saying to you?
I think, thank you so much for having me, first of all. The situation with Austin Tice has been very important for the National Press Club, and along with Mark and Deborah Tice, we have not given up hope on getting Austin back home safely. But I think what stands out most in Secretary of State Blinken's statement is what he didn't say. For a while, there was always the question of proof of life, questioning whether Austin is still with us or not. And I think that's something that we take as a hopeful sign that that's not there anymore. We know that Austin is still alive. We've seen statements from various senators, including Virginia Senator Tim Kaine and others on the Hill, who have expressed their sentiment that how important it is that Austin be returned home safely. So I think it's more about what's not there.
Interesting. The Biden administration is reviewing its Syria policy. Is it possible that a diplomatic channel could open up between the U.S. and Syria in order to bring Austin home?
Well, we certainly hope so. You know, last year we did see, you know, President Trump did make a statement last year that he was going to do all he could do to bring Austin Tice home. At the time, Secretary of State Pompeo basically echoed what the president had to say. So I believe, and we are very hopeful that what we've seen, and even though it's just a statement at this point, is a signal that there have been discussions going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing. And
a little bit of
yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Please continue, Lisa. I did not mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I was just going to say that it just gives us a very hopeful sense that there are discussions going on behind the scenes and that we will see some progress. And we're very hopeful that he will be free.
What I was going to add was a little bit of background for people who might not be as familiar with Austin Tice, is that he hails from Texas. He was raised Catholic, homeschooled, and the eldest of 7 kids. I understand you spoke with his 11-year-old niece recently.
Yes.
How did she describe Austin? And we only have about a minute left.
Well, I'll tell you, Maya is 11 years old. She loves her uncle. Seeing her, she's very conversant. Every year that she's grown up, has been a year without her uncle, and she's very hopeful to have him returned, and the whole family is.
Austin's captivity has lasted 3 administrations. Is this a matter of the U.S. not prioritizing his freedom? And what can people do at home to bring him home? Just a few seconds left.
Well, I would say, first of all, that just like the Tices have said, the Biden administration needs to let those who are making those diplomatic waves know that Austin Tice is a priority. Some things that people can do: you can wear your Austin Tice band in support of Austin Tice, to free Austin Tice. You can also sign a petition that we've launched at change.org. It's change.org/freedom, free Austin Tice.
All right, Lisa Matthews, we really appreciate you being with us. Come back, and we'll be back right after the break.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Finally tonight, we told you last night about Major League Baseball's Field of Dreams game.
It scored a major home run with fans. And a throwback to the 1980s film, actor Kevin Costner led players of both teams out of the corn crop, walking side by side before facing off. Chicago White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson hit a walk-off that marked his 13th season home run. The Sox ended up outslugging the New York Yankees 9-8, though it was a win for all fans. The match marked the first Major League Baseball game in Iowa.
Huge viewership, too. Have a great night.